Hi, Jen. Good to see you back. And the favorite
Leslie.
question, how is your week? But before that, uh, our viewers and listeners, we can give them a feel of what we're going to discuss this week. Of course, one of the most important things that we're going to discuss this week is this China AI lab DeepSeek's reasoning, open source reasoning model, which is
Right.
rivaling OpenAI's O1 model.
Yeah.
That's one of the main topics. And of
Yeah.
course, I think you will agree that Trump's dollar 500 deal, the Stargate Plan, whether that is going to help the US dominate global AI. And of course, on a lighter side, how Mahakumbh 2020-25 is using AI and many other such kind of topics. Of course, there are so many other topics that we have close to our heart, but let's start this discussion with DeepSeek, because all this while we have been looking at ChatGPT, and by far I think we all agree that ChatGPT is clearly the winner. Even if you look at Baidu, the Ernie chatbot, if I'm not mistaken, is not it cannot even hold a candle to the success of ChatGPT. So the interesting part out here is when we look at DeepSeek, there are a few things that sort of caught my attention. And I think primary among them was this is, of course, an open source model. Now, generally you don't associate China with open source kind of stuff because it's a kind of a closed economy. It doesn't reveal too much. But when you look at the DeepSeek R1 model, two things I think we need to tell our viewers and listeners. One, of course, is that the DeepSeek R1 Zero model, there were two models, the R1 Zero and the DeepSeek R1. The first model faced challenges such as endless repetition, poor readability, and language mixing. Now, these are acknowledgements from DeepSeek itself. And the new DeepSeek R1 model used reinforcement learning without supervised fine-tuning. Just for the benefit of everybody, SFT, or the supervised fine-tuning, enables an AI model to learn by when you show it examples of tasks with correct answers. So, for instance, in the example, you want a model to summarize text. You provide it with paragraphs, the corresponding summaries, so that process helps the model align its outputs to specific goals. But if you use reinforcement learning, that improves the model through trial and error, and that's pretty interesting. So DeepSeek has not used SFT directly; it has gone to RL. Your quick thoughts on this, Jayant, because I thought this was pretty innovative and path-breaking.
This is definitely innovative and path-breaking, Leslie. And as as the physics night fellow in you is obsessed with all things scientific and technological advancements, the business consultant in me is obsessed with the price, revenue, and the cost aspects of it. And what is really exciting about DeepSeek is the cost at which they've been able to build this model at 3% the cost of an OpenAI O1. Okay, it costs if it costs about $15 today to for using 1 million tokens of OpenAI's models, it costs only 0.07 dollars or 7 cents when it comes to using the DeepSeek's model. Okay, so the cost at which this has been achieved, I think that's extremely disruptive, because every other week, Leslie, we are seeing a new LLM model or new reasoning model. These days it's the days of reasoning models coming up. Every other week there's a new new model on the leaderboard, but that being achieved at this lower price, okay, and making it open source, okay, I think that is disruptive for the foreseeable future. Let me put it this way, for the foreseeable future, till OpenAI and the other American tech giants will be able to come up and disrupt that again. Because in the last 1 year, if we've seen one thing that's been constant is the constant disruption of all things, be it compute, be it pricing, be it power usage, as far as generative AI and the LLM models are concerned.
Yeah, pretty interesting that you said that, because I was looking at the costs also. That's why I wanted you to talk about it. It is costing us, as you said, 5 to 10% of this OpenAI's 01 API price, which is, I think, dollars 14, dollars
Yeah.
0.14 versus dollars 7.50 per million input tokens. That's
Correct.
pretty interesting.
Correct. Correct. So just to give our viewers an example, for example, a book, an entire book is about 120,000 tokens, right? And if you look at enterprise, generative AI or reasoning AI solution development, a million line code, okay, it takes about OpenAI today, a million line code will have about approximately 4 million tokens. It will cost about $60 of using OpenAI's models, whereas it will be costing only $2.2, okay, using DeepSeek's model, and they made it open source. Okay, now you can understand where a whole lot of open source based both enterprise and retail and consumer AI application and solution development will move for the foreseeable future. And we don't know, you started this conversation or this particular topic saying that everything that's coming out of China is actually closed loop, and we don't see that open source. We actually don't know what the costs are of DeepSeek, and if we don't know if they are being subsidized, okay, by CCP or any Chinese establishment out there, to move the needle in their direction.
Yeah,
And
but
we've seen
what
that happen in other technologies in other industries in the past.
I agree with you, Jayant, but at the same time, what was impressive in this particular case is the benchmarks that they put out.
Yeah,
So as far as maths and reasoning concerned, that's one part of it. And secondly, I think they also released it under an MIT license
correct.
because that I found it pretty interesting because typically you find OpenAI is hardly, it's ironical that OpenAI does not do open research.
Yeah,
And here you have a Chinese company that's not really known for open doing that. So I found that pretty interesting. And also, if you look at the challenges like the US export restrictions on advanced chips,
right.
I think it was pretty impressive that they used innovative methods like not only, reinforcement learning, but also that mixture of experts to optimize problem
Yeah.
solving.
Yeah,
So that,
MOE, they used MOE, which
yes.
which theoretically, conceptually existed and was considered a superior methodology for a long time, but its execution, its usage to the T in such an efficient manner hasn't been done earlier.
So it is the reason why, I said let's discuss DeepSeek was also another. If you see the debate, or rather, I won't say a debate, I would say a rather healthy discussion that was happening on X uh, uh, with Advin Srinivas of
Yeah,
Perplexity.
yeah,
So he put out a post on X saying that he suggested that India could learn some lessons from this DeepSeek. So his point was whether India training its foundation models debate. That was the kind of, and he was
right.
replying to that particular thing. So I'm quoting him verbatim. He says, I feel like India fell into the same trap that I did while running
Per
Perplexity.
building
Thinking
perplexity, yeah.
models are going to cost a shit ton of money to train, but India must show the world that it's capable of an ISRO-like feat for AI. Now, that I found very interesting because he made a reference, obviously, he alluded to Elon Musk praising ISRO, which, of course, all of us know ISRO is
Right.
known for the low-cost satellites. And I like what he said after that also, that I hope India changes its stance from wanting to reuse models from open source and instead trying to build muscle to train their models that are not just good for Indic languages, but are globally competitive on all benchmarks. And of course, he also mentioned Nandan Nilekani in the same bit. So that was a
Right.
separate post. He said Nandan Nilekani is awesome. He's done far more for India than any of us can imagine through Infosys and UPI, etc. But he's wrong on pushing Indians to ignore model training skills and just focus on building atop existing models.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is something that you and I have been discussing earlier also,
Absolutely.
that this
The debate
thing
is
will
back
not
on the
work.
table. The debate is back on the table. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, one big thing, Leslie, and we've discussed this is, obviously the AI and the generative AI space has a lot of Indians, right? And we discussed what Eric Schmidt talked about this as well. Indians are great AI engineers, once they step out of, or their ability to contribute to the advancement of AI technology is increases manyfold once they step out of the country, right? And the focus there on that statement is less on the ability, obviously, but more on the ecosystem. I think the big difference is what Jeff Bezos talked about a couple of weeks back, right? The risk capital, which makes America and all American entrepreneurs and the founders and the tech startups, so successful. And that's exactly why Indians and Indian AI engineers and Indian AI researchers are also able to grow in countries like US, where the risk capital exists. And Arvind Srinivas's point, well taken. And I've been on like you, I've been on a bunch of industry leaders WhatsApp groups where the discussion was all about we'd love to do that, but where is the patient capital, where is the risk capital, where is the visionary capital that exists here today, right? Let's look at it. Sarvam AI, right? Got funded about $45 million. This was almost about 2 years ago. Okay, where is the follow-up funding? I mean, even back then we knew that building a simple LLM back in the day with those economics was about at least a $200 to $300 million investment, right? And there have been about 30 Indic languages LLMs that have come up, Hanuman and a whole bunch of those. What has happened, to their evolution and growth, even a year into it, Leslie? So I think
this is a question that you may probably want to ask Nikhil Malhotra of Tech Mahindra when he comes for the Mint AI Summit.
Yeah. And a whole bunch of people, not
Of
just
course,
him, a whole
because they
bunch of
have the
people.
project Indus and they've
Yeah,
been.
yeah. I mean, that's still Tech Mahindra, right? I mean, I'm talking about Arvind Srinivas is a tech startup founder and an entrepreneur. Okay. And there are, equally capable tech startup entrepreneurs, founders, and researchers here in the country. The only difference is Arvind Srinivas is in a land where the risk capital exists in tens of millions of
Agreed,
dollars.
agreed.
Okay. But not here. So that I think is still missing. China still, I think, has it to a significant extent. And that's why we are seeing this kind of innovation coming out of China.
And the Chinese
Okay.
government is very supportive.
Absolutely, right?
Because they want, I think, very similar to what the US is doing. They want to own a lot of LLMs because they realize that they need those foundation models, they need those LLMs,
True.
which of course in a bit we will be speaking about Stargate. But
Exactly. I mean, talking about
yeah,
government
we will speak
support.
about Stargate.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
hold your thoughts on that because I just want to continue on this reasoning part of it.
Yeah.
So, just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, Sam Altman has already posted on X that the company is readying itself for the O3 model.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I want because he's saying that the external safety researchers have already tested the O3 Mini and we have finalized the version and we'll be launching the API and ChatGPT at the same time. So yes, we are closely watching that space. That should be, I think, an interesting development. Then, of course, coming back now to Stargate. So in fact, actually just today, since I told you, it's like from morning, I was just, busy with all these announcements that Donald Trump has made. So one of them, of course, is that, he has announced this $500 billion joint venture with big tech companies to build AI-focused data centers and other AI infrastructure across the
Infrastructure.
US.
Yeah.
Of course, the aim is to continue to be a leader in the AI space, create 100,000 jobs, enhance its competitiveness against China in AI developments, etc. I was very keen on understanding, the implications for countries like India. So, just I mean, just to explain what the Stargate is all about. So there are 4 companies: OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, and MGX to start with.
Yeah.
And $500 billion dollar is the investment that they're talking about over
That's
the next
commitment.
4 years.
That's
$100
overall
billion
pool.
dollar immediately. And
Immediately.
SoftBank, led by Masayoshi Son, funds the venture. OpenAI oversees the operations.
Right.
And of course, the other tech partners are Microsoft, Nvidia, Oracle, ARM, which I think the usual suspects. Construction is underway in Texas. We all know the reason why. Additional sites are under review. So pretty interesting. I was looking at some of the facts and figures that we have spoken about earlier on these episodes
Right.
as to who leads the AI space. Now, if you look at Stanford's Global Vibrancy Tool 2024, which was released in November, you'll recollect that we had spoken about this on this
Yeah.
podcast. So, US leads the global AI ecosystem. It excels in research, machine learning models, private investment, job creation. Uh, as I said, Baidu's Ernie bot may not hold a candle to ChatGPT as of now, but China ranks second
Right.
in AI. I
Definitely.
think it's providing credible competition clearly.
Absolutely.
And also, if you remember, because you track investments very closely. So AI-related investments in 2023 for China was $67.2 billion
Right.
as compared to just $7.8 billion in the US,
Yeah.
mind you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are very important. And China leads in AI patents and notable machine learning models, 61 versus 15. So,
Yes.
and China's DeepSeek is another, case in point.
Yeah.
And I was also looking at this, Jayanth. I don't know, whether you'll agree, but look at the irony. When I was actually writing this piece, I was actually considering this, that NVIDIA is the world's largest AI company. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes it's the most valuable, sometimes the second most valuable, depending on
That
where.
that that keeps fluctuating.
Yeah,
Yes.
but clearly it's the world's largest AI company. I don't think
Yes.
nobody can dispute that part.
True.
But it relies on TSMC, which is a Taiwan-based
Exactly.
company. So it
Exactly.
is, it highlights and underscores the complexity, the geopolitical complexities.
Oh, absolutely. We are living in
Because
a extremely convoluted environment. I mean, as much as we would love to, we're not exclusive. We are not decoupled. Okay. The geopolitics on one level, but the tech economic dependencies on another level are extremely convoluted, and decoupling them is not easy.
And another interesting fact, which has not escaped anyone's nobody's attention, is that we are speaking about sourcing those 10,000 GPUs as part of the India AI mission.
Right.
But if you
Right.
look at it, Joe Biden, before he,
Step down.
just recently, he put those restrictions on advanced chips. Now, unless Donald Trump eases those restrictions or overrules that particular diktat, we still have a problem on our hand.
Yeah.
So we have the India AI mission, we have the India semiconductor mission, but this is clearly a wake-up call. So
Correct. No, definitely. And I think what happened this week, Leslie, is a sign that there are two countries which are running away with the AI advancements, right? China has always been. I mean,
always.
pre-COVID, we've talked about, especially in the space of computer vision, how advanced they were. Okay, how much 60% of the patents, 30,000 patents that they were filing every year were in the space of computer vision. Okay, and then COVID hit, and they actually launched 175 million CCTV cameras connected. Okay, social credit scoring for tracking every citizen of theirs. This was pre-COVID in 2019. Okay, and then COVID hit. They took a back seat, and then ChatGPT and NLP came to the fore. Okay, and for the last couple of years, we haven't heard much from China. And now, China is back in the driver's seat of AI innovation and leadership. And look at the amount of money that's going in, be it money, be it the talent, the quality and the pool of talent that's going in. Okay, and US is competing that with number one, banning TikTok. Okay, and then with a half a trillion dollar investment in AI alone, right? What this means for the other countries, I mean, India included, right? I mean, India can have great talent pool of AI engineers and AI researchers and AI product entrepreneurs. Okay, but if those kinds of investments or those kinds of support that typically a lot of companies in China get from CCP and the ruling party, we get here, it's very difficult for us to be competitive, honestly. Okay,
Yeah, I think we also need to, and Ajay Chaudhary put it very well, actually. He said that, okay, fine, this shows the serious intent of the US to take control of
true,
AI and own
true,
LLMs, which China also has been doing.
true.
We really have not shown that, because he's saying that India must create its own AI doctrine, control its data and domestic hardware
Yeah,
for data centers.
yeah,
See, we have if you remember, we also discussed, we have about 150 data centers. Now,
Right.
here these guys are talking about creating AI data centers. We have one in Madhya Pradesh, which was recently announced
Yeah.
by one of the data center companies. But if you look, we have about 150 data centers. You look at the amount of thousands of data centers that the US has, and say China has, for that matter
Correct.
of fact. So again, there's, a lot of uh, a big
Everything, the
gap.
infrastructure, everything, we are lacking as a country. But I mean, if I have to take a step back and wear the hat of a globetrotter, or looking at a vantage point of what's happening around the world, I'm saying in India at least, people like you and I, and there are enough industry folks who are at least talking about, highlighting what the issues are, highlighting what is the headroom that needs to be captured, what are the what is the gap that needs to be filled in, and literally in real time, intelligent conversations are happening, turning into debates, turning into to-dos and call to actions. Whether they happen, whether we'll get the supportive ecosystem or not, but that is happening. But what I see it as compared to other countries is that even countries in Europe, in EU region, the these conversations are not happening, not in real time. I mean, there's no awareness that in a technology as important, and life changing generational technologies such as AI, there are two countries which are taking the lead and running away. And what are we supposed to do? People don't have an opinion. Even the learned people don't have an opinion. This is in Europe, this is in Latin America. I mean, I work a lot in both these regions. Okay. And there, at least, these conversations are also not happening, let alone coming up with a plan and implementing the plan to be competitive.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that point. To just for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, the Stanford vibrancy tool that I referred to earlier ranks India fourth. So it is India, it is the US, it's China,
China?
it's the UK, it's
Yes.
India, and then it's the UAE.
Right, right. Middle East
So,
is a
yeah,
strong, yeah. I mean, in terms of
pretty
vibrancy,
interesting.
yes. In the last couple of years, Middle East has become a strong hotspot for AI. I
So
mean,
India is fourth, despite all
yeah,
its limitations. So
yeah,
I'm glad. As I said, there's the India AI mission. I'm very
true.
happy with that. There's the Indian quantum computing mission. We are setting up these four semiconductor plants. I understand perfectly, and we have discussed this, that they're in the 28 to 40 nanometer space. But I think they will still manage to reduce, the electronic dependence that we have
Right.
on other companies. So I guess we are moving in the right direction. Now, at what pace is what you and I are,
Yeah. So
asking.
I think the reason why we are having such a passionate debate and discussion, Leslie, is I think it's sort of a pent up frustration that, and also the timing, right? We are at the beginning stages of seeing a couple of countries and markets run away with the leadership in the innovation. Now, if you look at any industry evolution, especially in the earlier stages, the stages are, there will always be researchers and innovators. Then there will be builders, okay, productizers, builders. There will be, business builders. Okay, there are product builders, business builders, and there will be markets. Okay, I mean, I think we are frustrated because we know that we have the capability and the talent pool of researchers and innovators, but we don't have the supporting ecosystem to be that, and we are losing that innovation, this one, to a whole other country with two other countries with huge resources and support. But nobody's stopping us from becoming product builders. I think that's what we'll end up becoming, and we'll end up also becoming a market. And a lot of other countries, like I told earlier, in different continents which are not even thinking about it, I think they'll be happy being markets, right? I mean, they'll be like, let this technology evolve, be researched, innovated, built, businesses built elsewhere. We are okay if we're going to be the market. So there are
Yeah,
different roles different sovereigns
the
can
point
play.
is you don't want to play second fiddle to any nation.
Exactly. The frustration is that when we know that, we have I mean, our own guys stepping out of the country and in US are becoming the innovators for this technology, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that you and I really, at this point in time, can't do much about. The policymakers are
Exactly.
thinking about it. The good point, the good news for our viewers and listeners is that, yes, as I said, we have the India AI mission, we have the National Quantum Computing Mission, we have semiconductor plants being, set up even as we speak. Speedy execution, of course, will play a very, very key role out here. How fast we get our act together. And I think the good part about this government is it's also managing to negotiate with other countries, whether it is the US, whether it's the UK, whether it's Singapore and other kind of other places for semiconductors, and to navigate the supply chain issues around this tricky AI area. Yes, we clearly are in this space for the long run. So I hope things will get okay. But on a lighter note, let's talk a little about the Mahakumbh. I thought it was, I mean, yes, I heard, I saw those fires happening out there. That was a little unfortunate. But overall, I felt that, over the next 45 days, I mean, these 45 days, you're going to have something like 400 million, staggering number coming over there. I thought it was pretty well organized, but what also impressed me was the use of AI, face recognition, surveillance, the usual suspects. But
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting. I
No,
like the fact.
it definitely was. Now, first of all, India is known for organizing large mass gatherings, okay, over and over again. And I personally happen to know someone, who's templatized this and has done this multiple times, okay. And the number of logistics that they have to think through, okay, be it from sanitation, accommodation, health, emergency, food and water availability, and in a lot of those logistics areas, the way technology and especially AI was being used for different use cases was really really good and exciting to see. Actually, I mean, 400 million people, mathematically, I don't know if that number is true. I don't know if
Nah,
that was there,
I'm going
but
to official figures and the
yeah,
figures that have been
exactly.
put out in the public domain.
Exactly. We're talking about what, 1/3 the India's population, or
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
about
But of course, there are lots
30%.
of foreigners and
Correct.
I think something like 15 and 20 million foreigners or something like that.
Yeah.
So, pretty
But
interesting.
for different use cases, AI being used sporadically in spots, okay, was very heartening. I mean, I remember back in my telecom days, we used to talk about telecom, infrastructure being set up for such gatherings and such events for a temporary this one. And there are a few companies which have in India, service providers which have exclusively do that and do this in an extremely templatized manner profitably.
Of course, I reiterate my wish that along with all the other stuff that India is doing a marvelous job at, we should also, use AI to sort of help us clean the air pollution, reduce air pollution and
Absolutely.
probably clean the water of the Ganges. As we consider it a holy river, so let's keep it holy and clean. But of course, as I said, this is my wish list. I'm sure some people are working on this even as we speak. So next, in our next episode, we promise our viewers and listeners to talk more about AI agentic systems. We had planned it for this week, but too many developments as usual with in the AI space. So we thought that it was worth our while talking about DeepSeek, which of course, as we both Jayanth and I have pointed out, it's path breaking and it's a sign of the times as to where reasoning models will probably go. And of course, Stargate, that also shows that unless you have AI, you know, uh, you will not have your national supremacy, if I were to say it.
Right. Right.
So I think,
True.
uh, Jayant, you have a lovely weekend.
Hey, thanks. And before we go, I want to call out the upcoming Mint AI Summit in Bangalore on 13th
Oh,
Feb.
that's on the
That
13th
our
of Feb.
30th of Feb that our good friend Leslie DeMonte is pulling off as usual, and one of the best AI summits in the country, quality of content wise. Okay, so any of our listeners and viewers, if they are in Bangalore, Ritz Carlton, I think it's 13th Feb, Mint AI Summit, look it up. Okay, and would love to have you guys there. It's all going to be about AI.
Great. Wish you all a lovely weekend.
Thank you, and Leslie, have a good weekend, man.